I was around 16, 17, this age, and I would wake up, shower, get ready for school, smoke some weed, get to school. Before I enter the school gates, smoke some weed, wait for break, smoke some cigarettes, wait for after school, smoke some weed, and drink some alcohol. And that was my day, every single day. And that's when I realized, okay, something's got to give. Basically, by 11, I was on cigarettes, nicotine. I got involved with a group of skaters, but the trick was that they were a lot older than me, right? So I was very young. They were in high school and I was this little primary school kid. And because of my skills on the board, we became friends and we shared a common passion. But I was quickly exposed to the things that high school kids were doing. One day we were walking with the crew and one of the guys in the group took out a cigarette and he lit it. And I looked at him, and I looked at him with a certain curiosity that I think everyone sort of realized that I was curious enough on this day to actually try. Because until then, I was just like, no, I don't smoke, no, I don't drink, I just skate. And he looked at me and he said, you want to try one? And I looked at him and I was like, I'm not sure. And he says, come on, man, just give it a shot. And that was the day that I lit my first cigarette. So that was the beginning of the journey, right, from there. And it continued to spiral and to spiral. And once that began, I couldn't turn back. By 12, I was on alcohol. By 13, I was on all three, including marijuana, blunt, weed, whatever you want to call it. And because I had a lot of trust from my parents at the time, I could go out a lot, tell them I'll be back the next day. So it took them a while to figure out. It's not until they started getting reports from schools, getting phone calls from police stations, that they realized that, okay, there is a problem. By 15, I had my first stint in rehab. That was crazy. I remember I was the only 15-year-old kid in there. The youngest guy was 18, and we had ex-cons in there as well, guys who'd been arrested, just come out of prison, doing time in rehab. That was crazy. And by then, I had been arrested 3 times already. And my 4th came after that. So when I came out, I got arrested again. So my mom decided to give me one last chance, and she went knocking down the doors of possibly one of the best schools in my country. And she convinced them, despite my bad record and my bad history, to accept me into the school. On that first day, she looked at me and she said, if you mess this one up, it's on you. I've done everything I can. And that's when I knew for the first time I was responsible. If I was going to get expelled from this school, if I was going to get arrested by cops, this time around it was me. And so one day after lunch, I was hanging out with a good friend of mine, and he was also a user, but he was a bit more diligent, so he didn't use during the school term. And he looked at me and he said, look, bro, like, I know it's fun doing all this stuff, but at this school, if they even suspect you, they test you. If they catch you, you're gone. And that's when it sunk. And so I had to start dealing with the problem from there. So I eliminated the drugs, but I continued to drink because drinking was part of an accepted culture. So you could drink on weekends, and when you got to matric, you could drink. You know, it's okay as long as you above the age limit. So drinking was socially accepted, whereas drugs was not. So I quit the drugs for that period, finished school, got out of school successfully, but I was a huge binge drinker, right? And I was substituting the drinking for the drugs. By 17, I'd been diagnosed with chronic pancreatitis from excessive toxic consumption. I was turning 18 that year. It was my first year. Crazy things happen in the first year of university. So I was lying in the hospital bed, and my whole system was inflamed, right? I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. I was on morphine, you know. And the doctor looked at me and he said, "Look, young man, you're only 17. You should be playing sports. You should be hiking. You should be jogging. You should be running." He says, what are you doing, killing yourself? And I just didn't have an answer. And yeah, that marked the turnaround. That marked the period in my life, because everybody, my mom flew up, you know, I was in East London at that time. They flew up from Pretoria. Then my whole family came through, and they were there for me. And I realized, oh my goodness, okay, I got people in my life who love me, and this has to stop. And that was when it turned around, and I discovered something inside of me that I never quite knew existed. I think I got to a point where I realized that it's got to stop, as in like right here, right now, it's over with, you know, and I'm in control, you know what I mean? I'm in control of my life, and I dictate my destiny and who I am, and nothing and nobody else can do that for me. And it was when I had that realization and I started experiencing it on a day-to-day basis with the little things, when I started to change one thing at a time, it was then that I realized that it was possible.